So let me ask you a question on how quarterback decisions are made in college football. Because Ryan Day, the article,
Whoa.
yeah,
No, well, you know how they're made. I mean, you were a Bears fan, so
Yes.
it's nothing. It's very similar
Great
to how
point.
Lovie Smith did it. Jonas, do you want to elaborate on that?
well, I'm
Great
glad you
point.
brought that up. I mean, because this is one of your favorite stories as far as deciding on a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Lovie Smith, when he had Kyle Orton and Rex Grossman in camp,
Yeah, you remember that?
he was trying to decide as to who was going to start certain games in the preseason, so he flipped a coin. Now, I don't know if it was a quarter, a silver dollar, a nickel, a dime. I don't know, but whatever
Maybe it's
it
a
was,
euro.
it could have been a euro. It
Yeah.
worked because Kyle
went to the
Orton ended
Super
up
Bowl.
winning the job. And
Didn't they go to the Super Bowl that year?
no, that was not that year. That was the year after.
Because Rex Grossman was the starting quarterback in that game.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah.
most Super Bowl teams don't flip a coin in camp to decide their starting quarterback.
Are you
why
sure
not?
about that? I mean, maybe that's what they did at Ohio State.
Maybe.
I
Behind
mean,
closed
maybe
doors.
that's what they did in New England.
That's what. Yeah. All right. Who's gonna stay? Well, heads or tails? Oh, it fell through a crack. Apparently, no one's staying.
Yeah, so you're all gone. But the way Ryan Day, and the article that I read was saying that Devin Brown came on late in camp,
Yeah.
but that Kyle McCord was able to hold him off.
Yeah,
Basically,
it was.
is the way that it was written up. Now, why is it? Are these decisions already made and they're just not made public to the media? Because it feels like in college football, some of these teams wait until this week or a few days ago to make an announcement on a game that's going to be coming up in less than a week.
Look, I don't know if LaVar will agree with this or not, but there's a lot of things that go into it outside just the performance. Okay, for a guy like Devin Brown, they might be saying, "Hey, he's might have a higher ceiling than Kyle McCord, but he might have a lower floor." And we've got a team that's really talented. We don't need someone to come in and make plays. We've got playmakers around the position. We just need him to distribute the football. And we feel like our defense is good enough where our ground game, our playmakers, our defense, they can win us a lot of games. So we don't need a guy that can go in there and throw 3 or 4 picks in a game. We need a guy who can go in there and kind of manage it, distribute the football, and put us in a position to let our other special playmakers win. All right? That's like the football if you want me to be serious about this. But the behind the scenes, it's also like, where did the kid go to school? You know where Marvin Harrison went to high school? St. Joe's
Same
Prep.
School. Yeah.
Same as Kyle McCord. And that is a powerhouse of a school. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's where Matt Ryan went as well. But there's a number of situations where that stuff factors in. When you've got a great relationship with the high school, with the coach, and they're pumping out talent, they do not want to bite the hand that feeds them. And I'm not saying that's a huge. I'm not saying that's a huge determining factor, but it doesn't hurt. If you come from like a one-off small school where you're never going back there again to talk to the high school coach, talk to that, heck yeah. You're talking about impressionable kids in high school. High school coaches have a huge impact on where kids decide to go. And if you wrong one of their players, and they feel like you have, they'll sour on you in a heartbeat. And they'll try to push and get that kid to go somewhere else. I mean, it might sound crazy to some out there, but trust me, I've heard about it. I've seen it. That's how sometimes that stuff works.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
competitive
LaVar, you
game.
coached. You tell me.
Bruh.
If a college comes in there and rubs you the wrong way, are you not going to be like, man, kid, don't worry about these guys?
I mean, I've said that to my son a few times, and he's a 4-star right now. I said it a few times, like, don't worry about them. It's like that, the way they're handling it. Don't keep the main thing. Like, and that's kind of what it is. Like, so yeah, you're right. I mean, it is all about how you go about handling things. People want to have a good experience and how they, how they're interacted with. So, but as a coach, and being in it with someone outside of someone you actually made, it's interesting. When you're going through a recruiting process with a player, especially if that player is playing a high-profile position, because the quarterback's position it's just treated differently at every level. And so if there's potential there, there's going to be, the way it's handled. I had the benefit of having Akili Smith as my assistant head coach and offensive coordinator my last year as a head coach, and because of that, I was able to bring in a backup to Bryce Young. Imagine that. Like, I had a starting quarterback that was the backup to Bryce Young at Mater Dei, and we ended up having him his last year of high school. So, well, his second to last year, we actually lost him the next year because I left. We all left the school. But anyways, I digress. It was exciting, and it was really cool to have a kid of that caliber under my tutelage, because you get to experience things you would never experience unless you have a quarterback of that type of caliber. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's one of those things, you see how these quarterbacks are treated and how they're looked at and how they're viewed, and I'll tell you what, that value starts. I won't go as far as to say youth league, but it definitely starts pretty early these days. The value proposition of what quarterbacks have to offer when they're pretty good.
Bro, you know when it starts? I remember when I was young, and obviously, like baseball, I feel like you kind of start, for most people, like kids pitch and all that, as young, if not younger, than really like tackle football in most places. We started tackle football relatively young, but like I started off as a pitcher. And so when I was 9 years old, I got picked up by a team. We went to Iowa to go play a World Series. And that was really what sprung the following year of me playing quarterback. Because all the dads were like, well, yeah, have him be it. He can pitch. He can throw a football. And that was what started it. Like, I grew up loving Jerry Rice. That was my favorite football player. And so I was receiver. Like, I was just wanting to have great hands and run good routes and make the big-time clutch catch. And so it literally started at that point. And just then when like our travel team for baseball would go to different like World Series, you started realizing you were getting like attention like at that young of an age. And like if your team wasn't making it, other teams were friendly with you because they were trying to pick you up to go take you to a college World Series or a little league World Series. And so it starts young for a lot of these guys because they're playing multiple sports. And a lot of times, like before they've demonstrated themselves on a football field, they've probably done it in basketball where it starts with AAU, or they've done it in baseball sometimes. And then it leads to like, dude, this guy needs to play quarterback. Like he's a good athlete. Like you want the ball in his hands, or he could throw well. Like that's where, to me, like especially like a lot of these younger cats, like you'll see it as they get older. They're multiple sports. They're guys who can kind of throw and sling whatever they want, but they get that special treatment you're talking about. And then when they get to a special school, I mean, you're talking about St. Joe's Prep, powerhouse, man. I mean, that's one, like, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. from there. Like, arguably could be the best, that a very, vaunted, historic program in Ohio State has had through the years. Guys like Cece, Chris Carter, you go on down the list. But that's what's crazy is, like, that stuff does matter. Like, whether people at home want to buy into it, it plays a bit of a factor.
Yeah.
Like, I would tell a young kid in high school, like, if you go to a top, top school, like you go to like Mater Dei if you're in Southern California, right? St. Thomas Aquinas, you're in South Florida, Cardinal Gibbons, some of those like bigger powerhouses South, you go. Because the exposure and the way you treat it, all that's so different, even the coaching to a degree.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'll tell you what, the way your pants fit plays a part too, like
hell
big time part.
They fit, man.
Jeez, if them pants fit right, you're
Yeah.
gonna get the attention.
Yeah.
Sheebus.
Yeah.